Hey everyone, Zach here from Windows Central and welcome back to another video. Now today we're taking a look at the Windows 11 2022 updates. This update includes a number of improvements and features over the first version of Windows 11 which launched last year, also known as version 21H2. This is the 2022 update, also known as version 22H2. So let's not waste any time here. We want to dive straight into the first notable new features, and they are in the Start menu. So the Start menu on this version of Windows 11 has been updated in a number of minor yet useful ways. For example, if we go into Start settings here, we can now customize the layout of the Start menu itself. So by default, we have 3 rows of pinned icons and 3 rows of recommended items, but you can now set it to show more pins, which will reduce the recommended feed and increase the pinned rows, or we can set it to more recommendations, which does the opposite. So that's a really nice change. The Start menu itself isn't fluid still, so you can't just drag the corners to resize it, but this is better than nothing, I guess, being able to resize the elements within it. So there you are. Another notable change is with the pinned area here. You can now create app folders. So if I wanted to drag this into there to create a folder, I can name that Utilities. That now works as you would expect, and that makes keeping your Start menu pinned area nice and tidy, which is very nice indeed. Moving right along, the next notable changes with this update are with the taskbar, specifically the Action Center. The Action Center here has been updated in a number of small yet important ways. In the first version of Windows 11, the ability to enable Do Not Disturb, for example, was in here, which kind of made no sense. Do Not Disturb is supposed to silence notifications, so why couldn't you initiate that through the notification shade, or the notification center rather? Now you can. So if you come up to the top here, there's the Do Not Disturb button. It has moved from the control center and it's now in the notifications panel. If I click on that, that will enable Do Not Disturb and acts just like you would expect it to, which is really nice. If I right click, I can go to notification settings here and I can further customize Do Not Disturb and all of my notification options, which is really nice. You know, there's a number of options in here. For example, we can turn on Do Not Disturb automatically during certain times, or when duplicating your display, when playing a game, when using an app in full screen mode, or for the first hour after a Windows feature update, which is an interesting option. But hey, there it is. You can now set those, and that is pretty awesome. There's also a new focus area in here, which allows you to customize the focus feature, which shipped last year. It's been enhanced with this release. For example, you can now initiate focus timers straight from the notification shade here. If we turn off Do Not Disturb, you'll see down here we can set a timer here. So let's do a 60-minute focus session. Press start. That will automatically enable Do Not Disturb, and then it will open the clock app, though it appears the clock app isn't installed yet. That's another thing that's happening with Windows 11 more and more now, is a number of the inbox apps are just sort of placeholders. They may show up in the apps list and Start menu, but they're not actually installed until you connect to the internet. And then they actually download the latest version. But hey, there we are. That is the focus time, which is now running. And again, this was a thing that was in the first version of Windows 11, so we're not going to dive too much into this, but you can link it to Spotify and Microsoft To Do, and you can set a number of goals for yourself and stuff. And that is now all easily initiated through the Action Center down here, which is really nice. And then, of course, we can stop that session straight through this UI as well, which is pretty nice indeed. Now, on the subject of the taskbar, while we're here, Microsoft has finally added back the ability to drag and drop files using icons on the taskbar. So if I grab this file here, for example, I can drag it down to the File Explorer, and I can plop that in there, and that works as you would expect it to, which is really nice. That was functionality part of many versions of Windows prior, but for some reason Windows 11 version 1 didn't have it, but it's now back in Windows 11 version 2, which is very much appreciated. Moving right along, let's take a look at some of the productivity enhancements Microsoft has made to Windows 11 version 22H2, starting with the new snapping bar. In the previous version of Windows 11, Microsoft introduced the snapping sort of drop-down menu, which appears when you hover over the maximize button on an app window, and that's pretty cool. But there's now a new version of that, which appears whenever you drag a window around. If you see at the top there's a sort of bar that's sort of peeking out, and if I move my cursor to the top of the screen, that bar will reveal itself, and I can now sort of initiate snapping straight through this UI just by dragging a window to any of these specific snapping layouts, which is really nice. So if I wanted to create a side-by-side snap through here, I could do that, and that works as you would expect. Or I could create my quadrant snapping here, which is also pretty fancy. So yes, that's an additional way of initiating snap. Of course, you can still just do the basic drag an app window to the side and snap it if you'd like. You can also drag an app window to the top to maximize it if you prefer doing that as well. The snapping bar is just an additional sort of way of initiating different snap layouts if you may not have been familiar with that functionality. You can turn that menu off in the settings app. In fact, I'll show you that here. If we go into settings, scroll down to multitasking, snap windows here, you can see, why is that turned off? Let's turn that back on. Where is it? There we go. Show snap layouts when I drag a window to the top of my screen. Turn that off and that snapping bar will no longer present itself. It's on by default. I think it's a really nice addition, but some people may find it a little bit annoying because it sort of is always popping up and down. Whenever you grab an app window to move it around, within the top half of your display anyway, if you bring your window further down, it sort of disappears. So once you hit the sort of 50% line on your monitor, it starts to show itself, and then the closer you get to it, the more it will show itself, and then you can begin using it, which is pretty cool. All right, while we're in File Explorer here, let's take a look at some new OneDrive integrations. You can see up here there's a new OneDrive button, very simple button. It just shows you your cloud storage information, so you can see that your files are synced. If I click on that, that will give me the OneDrive sort of flyout here, which gives me my recently synced files. And then if we go back to this menu here, you can see that it gives us our available storage. So I have 5 gigabytes of storage and I've used 1.1 gigabytes of that. I can get more storage. I can open the OneDrive recycling bin. I can open the OneDrive website, and then I can also head to settings. Now, what does that do? That opens up OneDrive settings, which is built into Windows. However, the other buttons, as far as I'm aware, take you straight to the OneDrive website. So if I click on the recycle bin, for example, you would think that would take you to the recycle bin in your OneDrive through File Explorer. However, that is not the case. Unfortunately, you click that and it will take you to the OneDrive website for some reason. So I'd like to see that improved in the future, but hey, there you are. That is how that works today. And also in the File Explorer app, the sort of launch page for it has been updated. It's now called Home, and there is a new favorites area which allows you to pin files straight to the home page for you to sort of get access to quickly. For example, you can see I've pinned a number of files here, this PowerPoint as well as a Word document. This is a file that I've recently created. I can right click it here and select, where is it? Should be here somewhere. Add to favorites, there we are. And now I can see that in there. And whenever I sort of close and open the app, those files will always remain there. And that is pretty cool. All right, up next is a new personalization option called Spotlight. That's what it's called. So we jump into personalization here and go into background. Go down to our background options. There is a new option here called Windows Spotlight, which will essentially pull in a daily image or a weekly image from Microsoft servers, probably, the Bing daily image, and that will set it as your default wallpaper, except it hasn't worked here. Okay, it took a few seconds to sync, but now as you can see, my wallpaper has changed. It's pulled in an image from Microsoft servers, and up here is a button which allows me to learn more about this picture. I can hover over it to see some information, but I can right click it as well to sort of open this image in my web browser and learn more about it there. I can also switch to a new picture because there are multiple pictures here that Microsoft selects for you, and then I can right click again here and I can vote this picture up or I can vote this picture down, and this just tells Microsoft whether or not the pictures they've selected for the week are vibing with Windows users. So yeah, let's say, yeah, this is a great picture. There you are. So Microsoft now knows that this is a good photo for desktop backgrounds. But yeah, that's a nice addition. Surprisingly wasn't there before. You'd think it was. You've been able to do this with the lock screen for a number of years now, but for some reason they never added it to the desktop until this release. So that is pretty fancy. Okay, moving right along, there are a number of new apps in the 2022 update, and some of them are in the apps list here and some of them aren't. We'll start with the new ClipChamp app, which is now preloaded on Windows 11. This is a web app which allows you to edit videos. Microsoft purchased ClipChamp, which was a standalone service before earlier in the year, and it's now preloaded on Windows 11. It's now a Microsoft-owned app, and it's a very simple app editor. It works relatively well. You can create different sort of templates here. I think this is a video I created for a video earlier in the year as well. You can see here's the editor. It's, again, web-based, so it can sometimes take a little while to load things in. But as you can see here, the video playback and whatnot is very smooth. This isn't a very powerful computer by any means, but it's working just like you would expect. So that's pretty nice. If you'd like to know more about ClipChamp, I believe I've done a more in-depth video on it, which I will link in a card here. Okay, up next is Family Safety, which is another web app, which allows you, if you use Microsoft Family, for example, can see all of your family members within your account. You can see recent purchases from children accounts. If you have children synced to your account, you can see recent purchases, approve or deny purchase requests, or block websites, or see which apps they're using on their computers or Xbox. And you can also track family members using the Microsoft Family app if you have it installed on your phone as well. And you can see all of that information from here. Unfortunately, I don't have a family, so I can't show you any of that. Here's a screenshot though, just so you have an idea of what this would look like if you were using it with a real family. And then also there is a new task manager, which is probably the most exciting new app in this update. As you can see here, it's brand new. It looks fancy. It matches the Windows 11 design language here. And functionally, it's basically exactly the same, but it just has a fresh coat of paint. So you can, run a new task. You can end tasks as well up here. You can enable efficiency mode for certain apps, which limits resources used by the process. There you are. And you can also group, expand, and collapse all. And then we also have our different options for, or I guess tabs, which are now in this sort of handy sidebar. We can switch to the performance tab, which brings up you to this sort of usual familiar interface. And we've got app history here. We have startup apps, users, details here, and then we have services as well. And if we maximize this app, you'll see that the sidebar out here automatically expands. You can see all of those different tab names as well. And there's also a settings tab here, which allows you to set the default start page, which is really quite nice, as well as change the update speed. You can set it to always on top, minimize on use, hide when minimized, show full account name, and show history for all processes as well. Up next are a number of new accessibility features. So if we come down to the accessibility area here and go into... Okay, so there's a new feature here called voice access, which allows you to control your PC entirely with your voice. So if I turn this on here, that will bring up a bar at the top, which will ask me to download the language pack required for this feature. That will take a second or two. So here is the sort of initial run process once that language pack is downloaded. So we can set up our microphone and stuff. That sounds good. And we are all set. There's also a guide here, a very handy guide, which will teach you how to use this because it may not be obvious at first glance. So if we start the guide here, we can say turn on our mic. So before trying the steps below, turn on your mic by saying voice access, wake up. Of course. Voice access, wake up. Click animal friend. Click cat. Show numbers here. Select 17. Show numbers here. Click 17. Show grid here. 6. 6. 4. 4. 7. 44. Okay. No. Oh. Right. So as you see, this is a great idea in theory, but it's a little bit slow, at least on this PC. It may be faster on more powerful computers. Although it seems to be working fine now. Maybe it's just my accent that it's getting tripped up on. But yeah, you can fully control your PC with your voice. Let me actually turn this off real quick and reset it here. So I want to sort of just do my own thing with it. So if we close voice access guide, show numbers, 5, minimize settings, open start, select edge, delete, select all, delete, select all, delete, open start, close search, open start, select edge, I did it again, close everything, show desktop, open start, Click edge. 1. Move edge window. Select all. Delete. Snap edge left. Snap edge to left. Snap edge to right? No. It did say snap. It's saying it there. Okay, stop. Turn off voice access. What are you executing? Okay. There we are. That's the demo. It's a great idea, but again, like I said, it's probably my accent that's tripping it up. But yeah, you can control your voice with your... You control your PC with your voice, which is pretty awesome. This isn't exactly a new thing. You've been able to control Windows PCs through voice before, but this is a sort of new enhancement to that makes it so you can do even more with your voice. Previously, there were certain limitations. This, in theory, has no limitations, but hey, your results may vary. There's also another new accessibility feature called Live Captions here, which will present captions or subtitles to any audio or text playing on your PC, even if that audio doesn't originally have captions available for it. So if we open up Windows... Oh, that's not what I wanted. If we open up the Windows Central YouTube, for example. So we have a video here which I've not enabled captions for on YouTube itself. If we turn on this feature, we'll see this bar at the top. We need to agree to that, and it's now ready to caption things. So if I start playing this video here, you'll see that at the top.
Hey everyone, Zach here from Windows Central, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're taking a look at the June OS updates for Surface Duo 2, because this update actually has a number of notable changes in it worth demoing on video.
So there you are. It does a very good job at that. I don't know why the voice access feature doesn't understand me there, but this feature understands me within a video. But hey, there you are. If we go into here, we can actually customize the position and stuff of this. So I can set it to the bottom if you'd want that, or we can also make it float on screen like so, as well as changing caption options. We can filter profanities. We can also include microphone audio, so it can actually live caption me as I talk. Let's try that. Okay, so can it hear me? It can hear me. Okay, I'm going to keep that on. That's very exciting. We also have caption style, so we can also customize what this actually looks like. This is the default one. Do white on black, small caps, large text, and yellow on blue. Let's do small caps. That looks pretty cool, actually. And hey, there you are. That's pretty fancy. I'm going to keep that open because it's just cool to see something dictate what I'm saying all of the time. All right, what is next? Is that what we've got? Oh, no. Okay. So we now have the fun part where I demo some touch gestures and whatnot. But initiating that mode is going to be tricky with all of these cables. So let's try initiate this like so. Okay. You may have seen that happen. But initiating tablet mode here, I guess. I'm using a 2-in-1, so I just flip the keyboard around. The icons on the taskbar here got more spaced apart with a nice fluid animation, as well as the keyboard button appeared on screen. Now, with this release, Microsoft has added a number of new gestures for touch users specifically, which enhances the experience by making it more fluid. So, for example, I can now swipe up from the bottom of the screen anywhere along the taskbar here to access the start menu. In fact, before we do this demo, let me go into accessibility here. Mouse pointer and touch. Let's make the circle darker so you can actually see where I'm touching. So if I swipe up from the bottom here, you'll see that the start menu now appears. If I swipe out from the right, the action center should also appear, and these animations are now fluid, so they follow your finger. Previously they never did this. You'd sort of just do the swipe and a preset animation would play, but now these should follow your finger and they work quite nicely. Additionally, you can also swipe up from the bottom right corner here to access the control center, which is a new gesture here as well, and that works pretty nicely. And those are the sort of most notable improvements for touch users, mainly the gestures. The gestures are now much smoother, and you can sort of drag them around, and they are all fluid, which is really nice. Except for the widgets panel one, for some reason, this one is still not fluid, so it doesn't follow your finger, as you can see here. But all the other ones do, and they work pretty nicely. So there you are. I just realized while I'm in here, there's also a new feature in the control center, which now allows you to manage and connect to Bluetooth devices straight from this UI without having to go into the settings app. So if I open up this menu here, I have no Bluetooth devices nearby. That's a lie. Yes, I do. There we go. You can see I now have that available, so I can pin or connect to my Bluetooth mouse, and I'm now connected straight through this UI without interrupting my workflow or throwing me into the settings app, which is pretty cool. So there you are. Those are the highlights for the Windows 11 2022 update. One of the big new features, or I guess changes coming to this release, is that Microsoft is planning to update it more frequently with new features just on the fly. Basically, whenever features are ready to go, features will roll out with monthly updates. They won't be every month, but they will certainly be more often and outside of the annual feature update, which is usually comes out every fall. So, for example, next month, Microsoft is adding tabs to File Explorer, as well as a number of additional features, which we will cover in a video separately. But that's not here today. This is the initial sort of 2022 update, which doesn't have those yet. So this is a sort of good look at the top level features coming in this release. Check back to Windows Central for updates on all the new features that roll out over time as well. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you in the next one.